Agud Voch Raboisai. Nishmat. Tonight is a very, very, very special day. It's the 100th year anniversary from the Knessia G'dayla, where Meir Shapiro announced the idea of Daf Yomi. If you haven't been to the Kiddush, which most of you haven't, maybe some of you in the room, but not so many watching, just want to share with you the idea that when you have a dream, you have an idea, you go with it. So Meir Shapiro had this idea, or maybe he heard it from someone. I'm not exactly sure the exact detail, but L'maisa, he was the one that went to the Chavetz Chaim, went to the Imri Emes, and he didn't stop until they agreed it's a great idea. And what happened was, the Chavetz Chaim liked the idea. And he told Meir Shapiro, you announced it at the Knessia G'dayla. It was the very first Knessia G'dayla. Meir Shapiro said, me? I'm only like 40. I want the Gol Adar, the Chavetz Chaim in his 90s to do it. The Chavetz Chaim said, no, you do it. But I want you to come in 20 minutes late. And Meir Shapiro was confused. He didn't understand exactly why, but that's what the Chavetz Chaim said, that's what he did. So everybody was assembled at the Knessia G'dayla, and 20 minutes into it, Meir Shapiro walks in, and as soon as he walks in, the Chavetz Chaim got up. Everybody looked, and they saw that the Chavetz Chaim got up for this young Rav, so they all got up, and it gave Meir Shapiro a tremendous amount of kavod. So when Meir Shapiro got up and he gave the idea, it came with a solid base. But the point is that many people in history came up with great ideas that changed the world, different things, the car, the light bulb, whatever it is. And in Torah also, many people came up with, this is one of the most phenomenal ideas that changed all of our lives, the Lemdei Adaf. And imagine if he didn't go with it and didn't push and persevere. So when we have ideas, and we all could have the same kind of idea, we could all make a difference. We don't know. There's still many ideas out there. So don't be scared. When you have that idea, you got to go for it. Yudah Cash says over here, hi Rebbe, first wanted to say thank you for all the hard work and sacrifice you put into this year. Also want to thank you for all the extra effort you put in to make this year more exciting. I'd like to ask to bring back the Kahoot, as it pushed me to pay better attention to this year. It's back. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm reading this, because it is back. It was all forbidden Zmanim, it's back now. I want to give a big shout out to my chavrusa that recruited me, Chaim Katz, who's in a picture, I guess, and my old neighbor, Chaim Steg. Oh, good friend of mine, Chaim Steg, who always encourages people to learn, and is always very excited to hear people are learning the daf. Me and my chavrusa went to be Menachem Ovalar in Hirsch Sunday night. We walked in, we saw the back of some Hasidic guy's head sitting in front of him. We got closer, we realized it was none other than Yossi Klein. Now, I know that he drove from Monsey to Lakewood. I forgot how long it is. Anybody know? How many? 2 hours. 2 hours each direction, plus sitting there and schmoozing it up. So it's a big thing. The MDY Mishpacha. The guy sitting between them is my chavrus in the picture. I also want to give a big shout out to the people I recruited for Kiddushin, Moshe Levin, Ephraim Zucker, Yitzi Rambod, Yosef Shvadron, Rafi Levin, I think. Keep it up, guys. Sincerely, Talmud Cash. Since Moy Cotton, Dav Gimel, here's the picture of the Shiva House. Aaron Hirsch is sitting in the bottom right corner. Yossi Klein, of course, and his Chavrusa in the center. Hi, Reb Eli. My name is Alicia Newman Badil, David Badil's sister. Just want to share a picture. I'm reading this because of the nachas that wives get when their husbands learn Torah. It's a whole different thing. I just wanted to share a picture, I want to share a picture of my husband Yeshaya with our 1-week-old baby daughter, Sophia Dina, born on Rosh Chodesh Elul. Yeshaya is doing the daf. I was doing a nighttime feed for me. Thanks for giving me company. We're so inspired. All you do to Klal. You do. Kol Kavod and thank you. Good Shabbos. Alicia Shai Newman. Givaldic. Spotted in Hollywood Bowl with an MDY t-shirt in Gateshead, UK. Getting a strike. Kind regards. You see that? Mamish in the middle of the strike. Unbelievable. Shai Spears since Tina's Daf Beis. Yeah, 3 strikes in a row. Givaldic. It's because he was wearing the shirt. Dear Reb Eli, Mazel on your son Zil Chaim Bar Mitzvah. Maybe it's supposed to nachas, the whole family. I'm in the hospital since Friday. It's brought about solo with a whatever, AFib heart rate, scan in hospital, aspirate pneumonia. Doing the Daf Friday, most of the showers is out of the picture. Came Sunday morning, I did something not MDY protocol. He went against the rules. But went back to Friday, Motzei Shabbos, and Sunday's Daf. While doing the Daf, my blood oxygen levels got better. If you break the rules, the blood oxygen goes better, it says. Shabbat Shalom, your Talmud since Ksubis Daf 57, Arnon Arnov, Refuah Shlema. The Koilel of the month, maybe we merit the crown Hashem. The Koilel of the week, it's the last day. Mishpachas Rubenstein, Lezech Nishmat Moiri, Baruch Ben Leib. Lock and love families. Lakewood NJ because torah and achdus is the best segula. Parnassa chodesh Nishmat Chai Bas Yosef. Parnassa chodesh Nishmat Avraham Albert Levi Ester Gavriel Beniyaminov. Parnassa chodesh in honor of Rav Eli HaShas and all them the wires. Parnassa chodesh Nishmat Zechariah Ben Moshe. Parnassa Yoim only one brain intact. Unleash your full potential. Should be zechus nas kedusha. Tremendous success in all my endeavors. And the art of the mother Boisa Yosef Ben Chai Sorov for the zechus in the come from supporting Limudat Torah. So this week, Rabbi Eli, we learned about Yadayim She'im Chichois. That is, if a person says Harei At Mekudeshes, but he doesn't say the word Li, let's say. Many other examples. Basically, it's not concrete what he's saying. That's considered a yad. It's just the handle, whether or not it works. Oina is Chazara. It's a shtar. Milva Lohitza Nitna. When a person gives a woman money as a loan, he anticipates she's going to use it up, so he cannot be mekadesh her with something he gave her last week, because money goes. Kinyan Agav is the kinyan when you purchase real estate, and there's metalton on the real estate, so you don't have to make a special kinyan on the metalton, because you're kaina the real estate, and Agav that, you're kaina the real estate. Tmura is when you have a carbon, and you try to transfer the kedusha of the original carbon to another, they both become kadosh, the same kedusha. Oina is where you charge somebody more than a sixth of the value. If it's exactly a sixth, you don't have to give back. The deal is the deal, you just give back the extra. If it's more than a sixth, then the deal is canceled. A lot of these we had already. This is from Gittin Daf Ayin Daled. When you say almanas, you make a condition, it's as if you said, okay, I'm making a condition, I'm going to be mekayim the condition, but right now you're mekudesh, right now you're divorced. Shtar psikta is what we call tanaim, and how much money each side is going to bring. Simfine, Rabbi said, remember Simfine, that's new. Simfine is something that cancels a prior act. So if it's a Kiddushin, so somebody's mekadesh a woman, but he never saw her, and then he finds out she has a mum, so it cancels the Kiddushin. There's a simfon. Shvuas Madu Mixas, we had a number of times already since Gittin Daf Lamed Tes. It's the shvua when somebody admits a part of the claims, he has to make a shvua. We learned the idea of Einoi Na LeHegdish. This that you have to cancel a deal if you charge more than a sixth. If you rip Hegdish off, it doesn't cancel anything. Yerayin Kesef is for Eved Ivri, Oma Ivriya. You prorate the amount of time they worked versus the amount of money it cost to purchase them, and you give that back to the master and they go free. And in Davar Shebe'er Pachim, a lot of these mamish, Chazar Shebechazara. When it comes to Erva, you need at least 2 Eidim. Get Mu'usa was a good Chazar, because a lot of people forgot what it is. That's a forced get. And that's it, Rabbi Isai. Okay, here we are. We're only like 10, 12 lines from the bottom of Yud Beis, Amud Beis. How Gavriel, the Kaddish b'tzipso da aso. Going back to here, Smatz Shabbos art. So we had this the other day. Check this out. He's Mekadisher with some sort of mat made out of adasim. Over here we have this. Oh. So this is a little different. Why? He gave her adasim. We already established that the hadas doesn't have the value of a pruta. Yeah, but there was 4 zuz in there. She should be mekudesh with the money in there. Now, when she accepted the hadasim, she didn't know that there was money in there. It was hidden in there. She accepted something that's less than a shava pruta. She knows that less than a shava pruta is not Kiddushin. So what she accepted was nothing. And then he wants to undo that and redo the Kiddushin. Shakalta b'ishtika. Well, she already took it. Not now. She took it before, 5 minutes ago. Now he's trying to change the whole thing and say, oh, you should be mekudesh with the money inside. And she was quiet. No. So what's the halacha? Could he do that? Is shtika kaida? How does it work? Amarava have a shtikusa d'lacha matamais. It doesn't work because her silence came after she received the money 5 minutes before. Can't say she accepted the Kiddushin. Maybe she's just ignoring you. She accepted the hadasim because she didn't want to be confrontational with him. He said you should be mekudesh. She laughed at him. He gave her a branch. No, she knows it's nothing. She's not going to say no, yes. Ignored him. Then he says, oh, but there's $100 in there. It's hidden. Okay, too late. How do I'll prove it to you. The Sanya Omar Law Kinsi Selazubi Bikadin. Now I want you to remember this because towards the bottom of Yud Gimel, maybe in like 15 minutes or so, we're gonna go back to this. We're gonna say Hasam. Hasam means this Bryce right over here. Just wanna so you're not so confused when we get there. Omar Law Kinsi Selazubi Bikadin. Person says, could you please watch my $100 bill? Okay. Oh yeah, no. You know what? Don't watch it. I want you to become my wife. As he's giving her the $100, mikudeshes. If she said, okay, I agreed to watch it for you. And then he said, but I want to change it now after you have it in your hands. To a Kiddushin, mikudeshes. So first of all, you see over here that if she wants, she becomes mekudesh, even though the Nesina, he gave it to her 5 minutes before. That's not a problem. As long as she says, okay, I'm good with it. And he said, I want you to be mekudesh, so it's Kiddushin. If she doesn't want, that's not a big chiddush. A person doesn't want it, can't force it to get married. Says Gemara, but let's understand what these words mean. My ratzaso, my lo ratzaso. What does it mean? She wanted, she agreed, and she didn't agree. If it means literally, she said yes and she said no. So then, when it says that he gave her a pikadon, as long as while he was giving it to her, she's mekudesh. Seems like it's Kiddushin, even if she says no, impossible. So we must be talking about a situation where she doesn't say no. She's just quiet. She ignores him. So you see from here that being quiet doesn't do anything. So they asked the kasha. And this also we have to remember. This is the Rav Huna that asked the question. Shmei the Rav Huna that asked the question. Midami. What's the connection? When a guy tells her, he kind of fools her. He says, hey, hold on to this money, save it for me, watch it, keep it. And all of a sudden, he says he switches it to a Kiddushin. Well, she's watching it. She's taking care of it. So how could she throw it back at him? If she breaks it or she loses it, whatever it is, from the time it leaves her shuz until it gets to him, now she's chayv in the achrayis because she accepted upon herself achrayis. But over here, she never accepted it to watch it, so she's not mechuyev to watch it. And if she doesn't want to be married to this guy, lishdinu, she should have thrown it to him. You hear what the Gemara is asking? When she accepted it upon herself, achrayis, she's going to watch it. So she knows she better be careful with it. But if she never accepted it to watch it, she just accepted it as Kiddushin. And she knows it's a joke, there was just a branch. So why didn't she throw it back to him? She's not responsible for it. She never accepted it. So she needs to know the difference in halacha. You think women know the difference? She's makabel achrayis, not makabel achrayis. She received it as a shmira. She received it as a kiddushin. She doesn't know these things. There's no reason for us to believe that she knows the difference. The reason why she didn't, you're asking, how come she didn't throw it back to him? Oh, she didn't throw it back to him because she should have thrown it back to him. She should have known that if she throws it and it gets lost and broken or whatever it is, she's not chayiv. Why should she know that? So it says in Gemara, she's still, she's a woman. She didn't do the daf. So she thought that she is chayiv and achrayis, even though she received it as kiddushin.
Someone put something in my house and I threw it out. Wait, I'm not chayiv.
You know that. She right. No, you're always not chayiv unless you say, I am not accepting kiddushin. I'm not accepting. Like a glass kind of thing. Listen, we're talking about coins here. So I don't know what they break exactly. It's more like an achrayis kind of thing, like responsibility. This Mamish Yaakov is not a single seat for you. Come on. Oh, really? Over here, there's a seat.
Empty row in the front.
Nah, he doesn't want that much attention. Come on like that. By the way, Reb Eli Gruen is here in the room. So I want to say in front of him, I said at the Kiddush. His son is a chassan, getting married this week on Tuesday, I think it is. Wednesday. So today was the Ufruf in the shul. And then, of course, I was supposed to be in charge of making the Kiddush for my son and the Ufruf. So I just waited until last week. And then I called up the Gavriel. I said, okay, we're going to, most people call like a year before. So he says, but there's already an Ufruf. So I spoke to Ari. He said, no problem, do it. And then we made a Kiddush somewhere. So I want to thank him for being a big mensch. And he's one of the Asari Rishonim of the Shir. He came and V'dizar Daf HaShas. He's there that first day. So Mazel tov to him. Shkoya. Mamish Palmidus. So, what's the halacha in this case? He gives her hadasim, and then it's not worth a pruta, and then he tells her later on it is worth a pruta. What goes on? Sholach lei anan lo yishmiya lo an hoder Ravuna b'reder of Yeshua. Atun d'shmiya l'chu chushula. We don't know about this Ravuna. The Ravuna says that Kiddushin, he makes this chiluk that by a pikadon she thinks that she's chayv and achrayus, and by Kiddushin she knows that she's not chayv and achrayus, so she should have thrown it back at him. She asked me a question: what's the halacha when I give a woman hadasim and there's money in there, and I tell her later on, hey, this is hidden money? She should have thrown it back. She should have known, says Ravuna. So he says, very interesting thing. I don't understand it 100%. I looked around, I couldn't find really somebody that explains it very well. He says, listen, we heard it, you heard it from Ravuna, so you have to be choshesh from Ravuna. I didn't hear it from Ravuna. Okay, but today you did hear it from Ravuna, so what's the difference? You heard it, it makes sense or it doesn't make sense? Like, I don't know exactly what that means. If Ravuna said it, and I'm giving you edus that Ravuna, maybe it's more like from a story, now he didn't say a psak, I don't know exactly what the pshat is. You hear what's bothering me?
They quote Rosh Hashanah said that.
I looked over there. What are you looking at? Mesifta?
Yeah, it said Ravuna Rebbe Yeshua was their Rebbe. So they have to be
where's it on the daf itself? Because I looked in the back. Maybe that was my mistake. Okay, what did you say? That what?
Yeah, because Ravuna Rebbe Yeshua is their Rebbe, so they have to be choshesh for the shita. That's not what the Gemara said.
Because he's a Rebbe. But he passing Allah. Okay.
No, so
they don't have that.
We don't pass him like him, but since he was their Rebbe, they have to be.
I hear. Okay, that makes sense. In case you didn't hear, who says the Rashba says that they were Talmidim, so you're Talmidim of Rav Huna, you have to be Chayyish of Rav Huna. We don't have to listen to Rav Huna. Okay. And we don't pass him like that, he says. Okay, we did that. Says Gemara, Ma'isa, Ahi Itza. So it's interesting. If you go over to a woman, you steal her stuff. You steal it and you say, you want it back? Yeah. Okay, so get engaged to me with this. What's the halacha? Shouldn't work, right? It doesn't make any sense to work. But there is one case that it works. What's the case? Again, you walk over to somebody, Imam Shaganav, you take the stuff from her, you say, what? No, on the spot. On the spot. Without use. But I hear what you're saying. You, again, Nachamal, when you go to somebody else's shir, you learn this, you can't. The Avakam is out every time, especially on Shabbos. When's the shir on Shabbos? Let's see, what time is the shir on Shabbos? No, when was the shir today? No? 5:30. Very good. And when is it on a regular day? Also 5:30? And you go every day? Only on Shabbos. That's why on Motzei Shabbos you always cause me problems. I know my zechus. Comes a guy, a woman was selling, it says in the article, silk ribbons. Rashi says silk, he says silk ribbons. Fine. Also, a guy walks in and grabs the varshacha, steals it. There's a guy sitting in a bar, about to take his little shot. The big jlub comes in, grabs it from him and drinks it. So he saw that the other guy was very distressed. He says, no, I was just joking. I'm going to buy you another one. He says, no, you don't understand. What a day I had today. I woke up in the morning, I realized my car was stolen. Get to work. My boss says, it's your last day. You're fired. I get home, tell my wife about it. She says, you're fired. It's the last day with me also. Shalom. He says, I came here to the bar. I was going to finish my life. Took my little poison, put on the side. And then also you chapped away from me. Also, he goes and he chaps the ribbon. What are you doing? Give it back to me. Even the lich, be consciously, if I return it, we become a Kiddush. She took it and she was quiet. So, what do we all understand? Exactly what Rav Nachman says. Yeah, I took it, but I took my own thing. She doesn't have to say it. We understand on our own. She just wanted him to give it back. So she was quiet. Just give it back. A guy. Now, I'm for sure not going to marry him. I don't marry Ganovim. You're not a normal person. Oh, fine. But wait a minute. It says, if a person sells, is Mekadesh, a woman with gezel. Guy stole it without giving any money. Chamas means stealing and paying for it. On the spot, he grabs it, he says, I feel bad, you want it? I need this, and here's $10 for it. He does it right in his face. He steals without giving money. One is at night, one is in the day. That's our story. So, the first three cases might be what you were saying. There's Yush, whatever. But over here it says, he steals, he takes money right out of her hand, and he gives it right back, v'kitcha, mikudeshas. It says the opposite of what Rav Nachman said. Rav Nachman said, like we all were thinking, that in shakli, v'didi shakli. Over here it says, mikudesh, what do we do? It says the Gemara, Hasam b'dishadich. When they are in a shidduch, they already agreed to get married, and then he's a little meshuggah, he goes and he grabs something from her and he gives it back to her, then it's Kiddushin. Because they're already dating or whatever it is, they already decided to get married, and now he took it from her, okay, so he gave it back. And how do you know such an afkamina? Where do you see this? Now it's a different case. Take this money that I owe you. Whoa, you know what? I don't want to pay back the chayiv. I want you to become a kiddush to me. If it's during, as he's giving to her, he could switch his mind. He could say, no, I'm not paying back a chayiv. I'm giving you kiddushin. So once again, we have the same lashon. If she agrees she's mekudesh, she doesn't agree she's not mekudesh. Lachar matamois, but once it's in her hand, I feel the rotzay mekudeshes. Okay, there's no chiddush. Once he paid her back a loan, so it was for the loan. Now he can't change his mind and say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I want to be mekadesh you." So the Gemara, my rotzah, my lerotzah. What does it mean? She wanted, she doesn't want. Eli rotzah damra in, lerotzah damra loy. Sort of like what we had before. If rotzah means she said yes, and lerotzah says she says no, hoishtiku have a kiddushin. But if she's quiet, it's good kiddushin. V'nisni mekudeshes stam ki hasam. So remember, I told you to remember. Ki hasam. Ki hasam means like we had before. Kinsi sells a b'kadim v'chazav v'amas kachi boy. B'shas madam is mekudesh lach, madam is rotzah mekudesh. So over there we said that if she wanted, she's mekudesh. But if she said no, you don't have to say that she said no. If a woman says, I don't want to get married, of course she's not married. So, Zok the Gemara, Ella, Ratzah da Amr in, Ratzah da Shtika. So you have to say that Lo Ratzah means she said no. So no, of course, it's not a chiddush. So it means she's quiet. V'katani, de'enu kudeshes. And if she's quiet, she's not a kuddesh. My time, in shakli, di shakli. I'm just trying to get my stuff back. We said in a Fursha Brisa that if a person steals, now we have a steer in the Brisas. Before it was a story. And we didn't know what to do. But over here now we have a contradiction in the Brisa. On the one hand it says that if a guy is Meshuggah, he grabs money out of a woman's hand and gives it right back to her to be Mekasher. Over here it says Mekudeshes. And then we said not Mekudeshes. Which one is it? Therefore, we have to make a nafkamina. They're getting married anyways, and he's acting a little silly, and he stole money from her to give it to be mekadesh. Okay, it works. But a guy doesn't know her from anything, and he walks over to her, chops away her stuff, and gives it back to her. Of course, she's not mekadesh. Zog the Gemara kinoich nafshi de Ravasi. Right when Ravasi was nifter, Al Rabbanon l'naktuninu Lenakutinu l'shmaitzei. Linkintinu l'shmaitzei. Whatever. Over here it says nakutinu. Okay. L'shmaitzei. Basically, they do it today also. Like somebody's nifter, they say, anybody know any Kiddushin that he said or whatever? We want to put together a pamphlet. Ravasi was, the Gemara tells us Ravasi was greater than Shmuel. Even though he was a Talmud of Rav. Right? Rav and Shmuel always argue. Ravasi is a Talmud of Rav, and Ravasi was greater than Shmuel. So he had very good things to say, and we want to know if anybody heard something that let's put in the Gemara. Huh? Who said? No. It says, where does it say that it's not the same?
It says in the Ram.
That on this Gemara over here?
No, it says Asi and Rebbe Asi are two different people.
Says Rosh Koilo, the Rebbe Asi and Rabbi Asi are not the same people. I'm going to ask the Bells tomorrow. Okay, I hear. Nobody knows who the Belzer is. He doesn't want to be known. The Belzer is a guy that learns in our Koilo, and he knows at least Bavli by heart, Mila b'Mila, in seconds. He tells you everything. My Chavrus also, Rabbi Didi Krem also knows Shas by heart, but not like that. It's a different level. It's a few people in the Koil know Shas like that, right? You ever test them? It's crazy. Okay. And he scored once when he did the Dirshu test on Shas, he scored the highest in the world. And he learns in the afternoon, he learns in Shas. Kitzer, that's the Belzer. But he doesn't he's very quiet. He doesn't, and one time I said something, his parents got mad. You got to keep him undercover. If you come here to the Koil in the morning, you'll see him. And after Mincha is about, I think, 120 these days, 117. So he stays like till 3 o'clock. So he comes here at 9, stays to 3. Doesn't eat, I don't know what he does here. Okay. So now the Gemara is going to bring a whole bunch of things that Rebbe Asi said. We want to put them down. So if it's Rebbe Asi, so he's a Tana, he's not Rav Asi, the Talmud of Rav, so forget what I said. Okay, so we have one halacha now. Now, just like you can't purchase, or not purchase, you can't acquire a wife with less than a pruta, so you can't acquire a field, a piece of real estate with less than a pruta. We have a brayso that says the opposite. Karka niknes bepachim shor pruta. You could purchase land for less than a pruta. It's not true. Oh, wait a minute. I was supposed to show this whole thing. Oive. And here goes the next one. No. Oh, this is Varshachi. Oh, I forgot to show this. Oive. Yoshi works hard, and I don't even show it. This is Varshachi. So this is our sugya. Yeah, he came and he grabbed away her Varshachi. It looks like a silk ribbon over there for sure, and she's screaming, "Give it back!" Okay. Fine. So we're talking about this, the Kenyan Suda, of course. That Suda doesn't have to be worth a pruta, and that's what it means that you could be koina karka in less than a pruta. But when you're using money, when you're trying to do Kenyan kesef, it has to be a pruta. If you're using Kenyan chalipin means it doesn't have to be worth a pruta. It doesn't work with money. It's a different type of Kenyan. And as I was learning the sugya, somebody in the Beis Medrash told me, mamish yesterday, on Friday, that day he bought a piece of real estate here in Eretz Yisrael with Kinyan Chalipin. He was buying like a machsan. Today you make a machsan, you make a whole beautiful apartment and the whole thing. So he bought it with Chalipin. That's how he did the Kinyan. Remember we had this halacha. If you don't know about, his last name was Shabbos because Hillel Abraham was sitting right over there and he raised his hand that he asked me to be Misal Kiddushin. And Nachman Seltzer came over to me and says, I heard you want to get a bracha by the chuppah, but unfortunately, so I said, no, I don't want a bracha. I just want it by benching. You have something in benching maybe? No, I'm just kidding. But he did here. Somebody said the Lashon Hara. And no, I do not want. Please don't give me. What? Ari, you got something for me? If you have, I might come. Okay. So, if you don't know the halachas of Gittin and Kiddushin, you shouldn't have anything to do with it. Now, there are those, like the Taz that says it's Dafke Gittin, because Gittin can cause Mamzerus, Kiddushin not so much. But there's a Gzeira of Rabboni Tzarfat from the time of the Balei Tosfos, the time of Rabbi Nutam, say that the only person that should be doing Kiddushin is the Mara, the Asra, the Rav. So, in Europe, there are a lot of communities that no one does Kiddushin besides the Rav himself. Okay. Now, there's a little bit of Nagadta. Says Gemara, Omer Reb Asi, Omer Reb Yochanan, here we go. Says Rebbe Asi. Omar Rebbe Yochanan. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying here. Over here, it's mamish that generation. Maybe it's he's saying that Rav Asi and Rebbe Asi lived in the same generation, just they were different people. Okay. These people that don't know about Kiddushin and Gittin and they get involved with it, the worst in the Dar HaMabul. Shenemar Olav Ekachesh. People that swear falsely, they kill, v'gonoiv, steal v'noiv, mizana, paratzu, v'damim nago. V'damim nago, the simple pshat is, if you look it up, they'll tell you the pshat is that they kill so much that the bloods of the two victims touch each other. So the killers. My mashma. Kiventargim Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef Targim Yoris ben Uzziel, I think he says, Rashi. Yeah, Yoris ben Uzziel. This is how he translates. They have children with their friends' wives. That the damim nago is different than the simple pshat. Simple pshat is ritzicha. He learns it that the paratzu is the priestess that creates mamzerim. The point over here of the pasuk is v'gam degei yom yosefo. It's such a terrible thing what these dayanim are doing that because of them the fish in the sea are going to die. So from that, the fact that the fish die, you see, it's worse than Dar HaMabel. V'ilu b'Dar HaMabel l'nigzer gzeira al dagim shebayam. The fish in the sea survived. Shenemar mekol shebacharav amesu. The Baal Musa always say that there's such tumah in the ear that everything in the ear in the world was destroyed, but they weren't suspect to the tumah. They were under the water, so they were saved. This is so much worse that even the fish in the sea died. Huh?
Because Ellen is fish and Basa City.
I hear. And over here, it's even the dagim shebayom. So maybe you have to do all these things. You have to swear falsely, you have to steal, you have to be noyef, you have to everything. Because there's a pasuk that says that the world was destroyed because of shvuah shavs. You see, even one of them creates a situation of destruction. Maybe swearing falsely is worse than everything, and that's why it creates a churban. But in order for the rest of the things to create a churban, you need all of them. You need to swear falsely, steal, and be noyah. Says the Gemara, miksiv ufaratu paratuksiv. They're not connected. It's not all 3, 4 things. You have to do all 4. Each one individually. Paratu. They were prost. They did pritzos. They created mamzerim. That's why the world is destroyed. Sponsored in honor of my uncle Reb Elchanan Pressman as zechus for a year filled with Mazel, bracha, and parnassa bereva. Greg Haber, bracha, parnassa has all brios for his family, Reb Eli and all MDY, and everyone doing the daf, but not the rest of Klal Yisrael, I guess. Okay, fine. Everybody in Klal Yisrael is doing the daf today anyway. Hadur Yasvi Kamri. More things from Ravasi, but so this is a typical thing. We go through Shas, different sugyas. How this not? So a woman who gives birth has to bring 2 korbanos. Sometimes if she's poor, she brings 2 birds. If she's not poor, she brings an animal and a bird. She unfortunately was able to bring her chatos, and then she dies. Nebuch. But she didn't bring her oila. So what's the halacha? Do the Yarshim bring her oila or not? Now, what if she died before the chatos? Did the Yarshim bring a chatos? Absolutely not. Because, right, that's one of the 5 chatois that die. Huh? If the owner dies, you can't bring a chatos. The chatos, unfortunately, has to die itself without bringing it as a korban. Says the Mishnah, Yaviu Yarshim Eilasa. The Yarshim should bring the oila instead of her. That's if she designated. Hold on. One time is she, those salts. If she designated when she was alive, then the Yarshim have to bring it. Oh, this could be you should send me a text right now. That what? If you have a chiyuv to do something, to bring something, does it create a shibud like an arev, like somebody that has to pay something? So let's say she had to bring this, so then her Yarshim would have to step in her shoes and bring it for her. But from the fact that the Yarshim don't have to bring it, so you see that just because she's chayiv to bring it, never created a shibud, never created a, how do you say shibud in English? Obligation. Okay. Rabbi argues, he says no, even if she didn't designate it, he must hold that her obligation creates a shibud that she has to bring it, and her Yisayim have to bring it for her. As the Gemara, so now we just argued in the case of a woman with a carbon, whether or not her Yisayim have to bring a carbon. As the Gemara, we already have this exact same achalik somewhere else. The Rabbi Shmuel milval peh ein a goyim. Don't be worried over here. It's mamish simple stuff. Milval peh, a verbal loan that many of us do. Right? You give a guy $100. You're not going to start writing a document. Milval peh. Ein a goyim min hayorshim v'lo min hakuchas. If somebody borrowed $100 and died, and it was a verbal agreement, so the Yarshim don't pay. You can't go to the Yarshim. And certainly not from people that purchased fields and whatever from the borrower. So it's the same exact machlokes. The same people, the same machlokes. That whether or not a shibud, you have a chiyuv. You have a chiyuv to pay back a loan, and that's d'oraisa. So the Torah is telling you that you're mechuyev to pay. So if you're mechuyev to pay, your yarshim are mechuyev to pay. So why do we need a machlokes also by a bird, the oila bird, and $100 bill? Do the yarshim have to step into the mother's shoes and pay it off? To loan money and pay back is not mamish in the Torah. Why not? I thought it is in the Torah. So Taisus says over here, top Taisus, last line, the pshita mashu loy v'tzarch lefroya. Yeah, he says it might be in the Torah, but it's so pashut. This is common sense that if you borrow money, you have to pay back. It's so common sense that not a lot of people do it. It's not, because common sense is not so common. Common sense is not common. That's the thing. Okay. Ja. Ich habe gesagt schon, also wir können nur fragen einmal, das ist schon die dritte Zeit, aber es ist ein guter Witz. Yeah. If Yiddish is good, yeah. He has in every language one. One time in every language. That's schon umgekehrt zwei. Okay. There's an interesting shaila. You know that the shaila, the good, you have to come up with the torah yourself. The question is if there's a chiyuv for mitzvah, you only go up to a chaimesh. So you have $100. You only mechuyev to spend $20 on an esrik for a mitzvah. So a guy borrowed $100,000. So why is he mechuyev to pay back $100,000? It's a mitzvah to pay back. He should only have to pay back $20,000. No, what's the answer? You have to come up with the answer yourself. It doesn't make any sense, the kasha, but why?
It's not his.
It's not his.
It's not his at all.
Yeah, it is. It's his to use, and that's it. So I think they say that when he pays, yeah, you're right. He only has to pay back 20%. So he pays back 20%, but now he still has to pay. He still has a chiv on the 80, so now he has to pay another 20% of the 80. The kids say you can't get out of it, even if you say that. Fine. Explain later. Zog the Gemara. By the woman, she's mechuyev to bring a carbon when she gives birth. That it's a shibud d'oraisa. You certainly have to step in. We say the karbanos. So I see a mamish not on top of my charts here. That was before the lashon of parrots. Rashi brings this pasuk down. It's the lashon of having children. Milva ksuv b'toyer ksuv b'shtar dami. It's a yisoid that ksuv b'shtar dami. It says if it's in a shtar al bahach ema moedele the shmuel tzricha fine. Omar Papa hilchasa. We're going to make a pshara here. Milva al peh. If somebody has a verbal loan, goiva min hayarshim, then you could go after those who inherit money. But you can't go after somebody who purchased property from the borrower. Goiva min hayarshim shibuda deraisa. Why? Because he passed Reb Elchanan, the shibud is deraisa, and there's a chiyuv and the yarshim have to step in. Goiva min halukuchas, the less lekala. So over here, Chachamim stepped in and said we have to help these lekuchas. Why? Because they didn't hear. How are they going to hear that it was a verbal loan? A guy took in the base marriage. He gave a guy $100. How is he supposed to hear about it and not buy his house or his property? Now, okay, fine. Zog the Gemara weiter. Wir können es also vergessen, wie es about. New sugya. This sugya struck me different than a lot of. I mean, it's very similar to a lot of sugyas. But I was thinking to myself when I was learning the sugya. We know that if a husband dies, the wife can go ahead and marry whoever she wants. So I think if you pause for a second, think to yourself for a second, why? How do you know that if a husband dies, the wife can marry anybody she wants? Think about it. Do you have a raya from anywhere in the Torah that that's the case? If a husband dies, the wife goes ahead and marries anyone. Huh? The what?
Only if he doesn't have kids.
By Yibum? Yeah. No, he's saying good. He's saying Yibum. It says by Yibum it's good. This week's parasha. Yeah. No. What are you saying? Yeah. So you're saying from very good. These are all things. No. Anybody else?
Maybe
When Yehuda v'Tamar, it was in Bereshis, when Yehuda gave it to Sheila and Anan and stuff, so he gave him to the other brothers.
No, that's Yibum. Yibum's mutter. That's my first in the Torah. Yibum's mutter. How do you know that not Yibum situation?
She goes back to her father. She has her children.
No, Zera-in-law.
She goes back to her house. She's not connected to anyone.
No, it doesn't say she married anybody. Where does it say she married? She's allowed to eat truma, but how do you know she's allowed to marry somebody?
She no longer has connection to her.
You're jumping from truma to
No. Israel, he asked us if the truma.
yeah.
Now she's allowed to marry eating truma. She goes back to her father's house.
She's allowed to eat. So because she's allowed to eat truma, so that's why she's allowed to marry somebody. Ishasish. Maybe she's Ishasish. So no connection.
Sometimes the Gemara says that.
Oh, that's your fourth time. That's it. No, that guy. Yeah, but you only have the zechus to answer if you didn't speak before. And he didn't go to another shir. There's certain rules here in this year. You have to know. You know. Yeah, what are you saying? Hold on. Yeah.
Because even though it was a sin, he was still allowed to be married afterwards, I think.
David HaMelech Mesheva. Okay, but how did David HaMelech know that you could do that? You're saying we should know. Okay, fine. I hear. These are all good things, but it's one of these sugyas that, how do you know? So we do things, we take it for granted, but how do you know? And I love these the rayas that the Gemara brings, because sometimes we learn the rayas and it's like another one. Yibum. If we didn't think about it for a second, it's like Yibum. No, now you think about it. Okay, now how did they think about it? The kohenes atzma beget misabal bishlam beget the simkasal sefer krisis. Seven first in the Torah that you write a sefer krisis, and what does it say a second later? The yatzav ha'isa. She could go out and marry. Elamisa sabal minolon. How do you know that if the husband dies, you go out and marry? Svara, who says the Gemara, it's common sense. Who osra v'ushar. So the only reason why she's osra is because of him. Now he's no longer here, so she go get married to anybody she wants. Maybe it's just common sense. Says the Gemara, but it's not true. V'arayis the osar lahu v'leishar lahu. There's certain people that through the marriage they become osar. So if a son gets married to somebody, his own father can never marry his wife. A father-in-law can never marry a daughter-in-law, ever. Even if the son dies. The issue remains. You osar v'ushar. The only reason why a father-in-law became osar to his daughter-in-law is because of his son. And his son is not in the world anymore, so he should be able to marry his daughter-in-law. Why not? So you see that some issue remains there. Ella, okay. Now the Gemara is saying what Benny said. The Torah says that a Yivama who doesn't have children asura. She's not allowed to marry anybody, only her brother-in-law is when she doesn't have children. But when she has children, she's allowed to marry her brother-in-law. Says the Gemara, that's not a raya. Huh? No. We're saying, what? What did I say?
She has children, she can marry her brother.
When she doesn't have children, she marries her brother-in-law. That's Yibum. But if she has children, she can marry anybody she wants. That's not what I said. Okay, we'll go back to the videotape. It says, but who told you? Who told you? If she doesn't have children, then she's allowed to marry Yavam and nobody else. But if she has children, then she's also to the whole world. Who told you she's allowed to marry anybody she wants? Elo, I have another raya. Oh, I love this raya. Almana lekohen gadol asura. It says that if she is a widow, she's not allowed to marry a kohen gadol. It seems like she could marry the whole world. Says the Gemara, no, not a good raya. Maybe to marry a kohen gadol is iser lav. The whole world she'll still be over nasei. Why? Because it says v'yotzev ha'isa. That there's a mitzvah, she could go out and marry somebody that's an asay. Through what? Through a get. Because of a sefer krisus, v'yotzev ha'isa. If she has a get, she could go marry and b'mkayim asay. But if she doesn't have a get, just her husband died, then it will be not an asay, it would be the opposite. It would be this. This is called lava bama klal asay is an asay. An Ester, I learned from an asay, there's a mitzvah in the Torah, marry somebody else after you get a get, but it's only because you got a get. If you didn't get a get, then you're over on a lav, but it's not a lav, it's an asay. There's a positive commandment to go ahead and marry somebody else. It's positive. But I'm telling you that in the opposite situation, when she's not divorced, she's only, her husband died, then she's going to be over in that asay, she's going to be over. So what is it? It's an asay. She's doing an Isser asay. It's a lav that becomes an asay. Says Gemara, wait a minute. Hi asay, my vita. What happened there? Ida hanya misas habal. If something changed in her status by her husband dying, tishtur legamri, then she should be completely mutter to marry whoever she wants. But if nothing happened when her husband died, she remains an eish sish. So how did she go from an eish sish to Isser asay? If her husband dies, she's not connected to her husband, so she can marry anybody she wants. And if she is connected to her husband, then she's still Eishes Ish, she's Chayiv Misa. How did you all of a sudden, how did you downgrade her from Eishes Ish to just an Asay? Doesn't make sense what you're saying. So the Gemara, we see something similar. Maybe yeah, when her husband dies, you downgrade her. Now, instead of having Misa, you Chayiv Asay. So the Gemara, I see this when a person brings a carbon and he gets a mum, you can't bring it as a carbon. So what do? You redeem it. It says in the pasuk, there's an Ester to do avoida and giza. You're not allowed to work a bechar, you're not allowed to shear its wool, and also other karbanas. So when you redeem a carbon, you have a $500 animal. You just get, and it broke its leg, whatever, it has a mum. So you redeem it. So now the Isser Me'ila, the Isser that you have to use this animal goes away, but you're not allowed to shear its wool and work it. Parkinu Me'ila Lesbu, Bigiz Vaveda Asiri. So you see they could downgrade something. This woman's husband died. She went from being Eishes Ish, Chiyuv Misa, to Eishes Ish of just Isser Asay. Maybe. Ella. So it says over here, it says in the pasuk that if you just got engaged, just got married, go home. Why? Because if you die in the war, somebody else will marry her. So it says in the pasuk, somebody else can marry her. Oh, maybe the acher means the yavam, and that we said is that we're okay with. That's not a right that anybody can marry her. First of all, I'm going to answer your question. A yavam is a yavam, not an acher, not a stranger. And this is the raya that he was saying. Because of the sefer krisus, this woman married once, twice. Now we have a hegesh between Misa. So we have to come on to a real pasuk. It reminds me of this Maisa. I think I said it a few times, but there was a guy that became a Baal Tshuva, and they asked him why. He said because he learned, I think back in the day, like it also in Or Sameach on those mentor trips, they tell us the biggest thing to bring people back to the Yiddishkeit is learning with them a Daf Gemara. A lot of people hold like that. So he learned Gemara, and he saw that no matter what, Rashi says this, and Taisus attacks him, and this one tries to fa'emfer, they don't let anything go. Everybody the real MS. It's MS. You can't just say, "Oh, how do I know?" Because a husband can get married, she can get married to whoever she wants. I know it's partial. No, I need to get to the bottom of it. What's the bottom of it? Because of the Sevi Krisis, we have a hektish in the same pasuk between Mis and Gerushin. My Gerushin Shari v'Gemeres. Just like divorce it's over and she can marry whoever she wants. Af Misa Shari v'Gemeres. So too we know that the death of the husband allows her to marry whoever she wants. Rabboisai, have a wonderful week. See you tomorrow, Beis Hashem, at 7:15.